Hey, Ministry Forum audience, it's John popping into the studio for a quick update on our next season of the Ministry Forum podcast. We hope and pray that you're finding some time to replenish and rest after perhaps a really busy and sometimes frenetic season just of life alone. Not to mention if you had to offer ministry leadership in the midst of it. I had the opportunity to be with the community of St. Andrew's Kitchener last Sunday, and that Sunday between Christmas and New Year's was always a hard one to find pulpit supply for. But I always found it so needed for me when I served in congregational ministry. And since my role has changed, I thought I'd step forward to fill that gap as St. Andrew's Kitchener finds itself without a senior minister at this time. But back to podcast news. Our first season was so very well received, and we had so much fun recording it. We got to listen to so many amazing stories and conducted some really interesting interviews and share some content with you in different ways. We designed it with the intention that there'd be breaks from time to time between seasons, not only for our own workflow at Ministry Forum, but also for the audience's sake. So if you're anything like me, it's hard to keep up with all the podcasts I try to follow. So I'm grateful when a podcast that I love takes a little break for me to have a chance to catch up, or at least target the ones I'm most interested in listening to next. And so that's what this break is for. Now, our next season kicks off on Tuesday, January the 7th, 2025. And we've got a fantastic interview with children's author, Knox College alum, and library staff member, Laura Allery, to talk all about writing children's books and sharing about her newest book release. You're not going to want to miss this episode. And then over the course of our 14-week second season, you can look forward to a few recasts from previous Ministry Forum content that we've created over the course of our work. There'll be a crosscast featuring Two Rivers Church from Guelph. Yes, my hometown. Strays, Orphans, and Exiles, their little podcast, interviewed me, actually, so that's going to be kind of weird, being interviewed on another podcast about Ministry Forum. But hey, I hope you find the experience interesting, and I hope it sparks your curiosity for their podcast and some of the interesting guests that they've had over the years. Now, we have a couple of panel discussions as well, going deeper into that intermission experience, and a conversation with some recently retired ministers that, if you're in that stage of life, or maybe just want to hear from ministry leaders who've been serving and have served the church for decades, it's a really interesting conversation. And finally, as a special treat, we have an interview inspired by one of our Ministry Forum interns, Rachel Kennedy Proctor. Rachel follows on the socials Brian Recker, and she really wanted to talk with him about his perspective on church, the ministry, and all those kinds of things. You'll definitely want to catch this episode. It's a special one. I didn't really know who he was at all until we got a chance to interview him, so I was intrigued by his story and his continued passion for following Jesus the Christ. You can help us to keep growing our Ministry Forum podcast audience. Please like and review the episodes where you listen to podcasts, and share episodes with your family, your friends, and colleagues. We'll be in your ears on January the 7th. Talk soon, ministry leaders. And remember, you are not alone as you serve, and answer that call to serve in ministry.